Time is not a river carrying you forward. It is the habit of your mind arranging its prayers into before and after. The clock is not the heart of the universe. It is a drum we made to march to our own inventions. What you call past is a story you're telling now. What you call future is a costume you're sewing thread by thread in this very instant. And yet, here you are, breathing, listening, aware. The world arrives as a single living moment, and it has never once repeated itself. The illusion is not that moments happen. The illusion is that they are separate. You were taught to measure your life like a tailor with a strict tape, pulling it tight against each year. You were taught to spit the seamless into segments, childhood, adolescence, crisis, recovery, success, stamping them with dates as if reality were a passport office. But existence does not present itself as calendar blocks. It is more like a melody that only seems to have notes because we break it up to sing along. Try to find the seam between now and now. You can't. Try to catch the instant you left the present and entered the next. You won't. The very attempt dissolves into the same luminous immediacy in which the thought of time arises and vanishes. This is not an argument against history or plans. It's an invitation to see how both bloom from the same mysterious root of awareness. The past is your memory vibrating in the present. The future is your imagination flickering in the present. Time is a mental map, useful for navigation, dangerous when mistaken for the territory. And you, this vivid sensitivity, this luminous sensing of sound and light and feeling, are the territory, not the map. Your life in its deepest truth is not strung along a line like beads. It is a pearl that shines all at once. Consider a wave curling on the sea. We draw an outline around it and say, that wave began over there and ends over here, as if it were a thing separate from the ocean. But the wave is the ocean waving. So too with you and time. You are the universe ongoing, not a little machine ticking along a timeline. When you stop clinging to your label, my past and my future, you slip back into the oceanic fact of being. This is freedom. It is not philosophical play. It's the release that happens the moment you stop explaining yourself to your watch. You might ask, without asking, if life loses meaning when time is seen as illusion. On the contrary, life gains density, color, immediacy. A flower does not bloom in the future. It blooms now. A song is never heard tomorrow. It is only ever heard now. And you are not a ghost awaiting permission from the next hour to be real. You are real, because you are this awareness in which all hours appear and disappear like fireflies at dusk, surprising and gone, and yet surrounded by a twilight that is always here. Let us walk more slowly, then, through this garden where the paths are not in front or behind, but unfolding underfoot, fresh with dew, alive with the scent of rain. Notice that even the word notice is already happening. The attempt to hold a moment is like trying to cup water. It escapes not because you are clumsy, but because its nature is to flow. And your nature is not the fist that grasps, but the hand that feels. You can't step into the same moment twice because there is no twice. There is only this, renewed, again, without again. If time is the mind's measuring stick, what then of memory and anticipation? They are instruments, beautiful, fragile, prone to distortion. Memory is not a warehouse stacked with dusty crates of facts. It is a painter working in the studio of the present, mixing pigments of sensation and story to create what you call before. Anticipation is not a telescope pointed toward a distant shore. It is a brushstroke. Okay, sketching possibilities on the same present canvas. When you see this, you do not banish memory or forsake foresight. You simply stop mistaking them for reality itself. Imagine you are seated in a theater. On the screen, a life unfolds with birth, learning, love, loss, ambition, aging. The film runs from left to right because the projector arranges the frames so. The story appears to move because the light behind it is steady. Your awareness is that light. The frames are the thoughts and sensations, the events and expectations. If you devote yourself entirely to the frames, you are whisked along by the plot, thrilled, afraid, hopeful, and you forget that the radiance allowing the movie to be seen is not itself caught in the chase. The trick of time is the spell of continuous frames. The grace of reality is the light that never moves. This is why anxiety so often gnaws at the edges of a busy life. You try to live across two fictions at once, rehearsing an ideal future while defending a curated past. In the process, you overlook the only place where living happens. Anxiety is not wrong. It is a bell ringing to remind you that you have wandered into imagination without bringing your breath along. Listen to the bell, bow to it, and return. The only appointment you cannot miss is this moment's appointment with itself. There's a story about a craftsman who spent his youth sharpening tools. He believed perfect blades would carve perfect statues. Years went by. His hands became expert at edges but uncertain with forms. One day he realized he had learned to prepare but forgotten to create. Many of us relate, forever perfecting calendars, refining strategies, formatting goals, sharpening tools, yet postponing the simple art of being. Preparation is a virtue until it becomes an exile. You do not need to deserve the present. It is your native land. But what of responsibility, you might murmur, as if reality were reckless without deadlines. Responsibility blossoms, not with compulsion, but with presence. When you are truly here, you give each task the intimacy it asks for. Washing a dish isn't a detour to a better time. It's the universe discovering itself as warm water, porcelain, and the small galaxy of your hand moving in circles. Paradoxically, this attentive humility tends to produce what we admire: clarity, efficiency, creativity. The musician most fully in the note is also the one most likely to land the next phrase with grace. Notice how language urges you to believe that time passes and you stay put. But isn't the opposite also true? The open clarity of awareness does not travel anywhere. All arriving and departing happens within it. Morning comes and goes like a caravan in the desert, yet the desert remains silent and luminous, allowing every footfall. When you say, "I don't have enough time," what you often mean is, "I'm not fully letting this moment reveal itself." Scarcity of time is not a scarcity of minutes. It is a scarcity of attention. Let us entertain a gentle paradox: free will without a future. If time is conceptual, what becomes of choosing? Consider a dancer improvising. There is no future choreography to obey. There is only sensitivity to rhythm and space, a here-and-now intelligence responding with the body's wisdom. Choice is not the mind leaping ahead to capture a result. It is the whole organism participating in the immediacy of conditions. When you act from this seamless now, decisions feel less like dodging bullets and more like turning with the music. You discover that freedom is not a corridor stretching forward, but a room that has no walls. Death, too, changes its costume in this light. If you are a timeline, death is a guillotine. If you are the awareness in which timelines appear, death is a costume change in a play that never leaves the stage of the present. This is not to deny grief. Grief is the wave returning to itself with salt in its eyes. It is to remind you that what you love owes are forms, and what you are is the space that allows forms. Every goodbye is held by the same presence that allowed the hello, and in that recognition there is a tenderness that does not end. Let's turn to practice, not as a program to engineer a better future self, but as the art of receiving the present with less interference. Begin with the breath. You don't take a breath, the breath takes you. Before your intention, the body is already moving, the tide of inhale arriving, the tide of exhale receding. Sit quietly and listen to the surf. Feel the ribs widen, the shoulders sigh, the belly soften. Notice that to feel breathing, you must be here. Breathing becomes a bell of mindfulness. Each ring gathers the wandering mind like sheep returning to the field. Next, walk, not to arrive, simply to feel the earth affirming your feet. Let the soles report the texture of the world: soft grass, warm tile, uneven stone. With each step, whisper inwardly, "Here," another step, "Here." There is no mantra more truthful. When thoughts rush to assemble a meeting in the future, bow to them. They are diligent clerks. Then kindly close their office door and continue your stroll under the big blue ledger of the sky. Try this with ordinary tasks. When eating, taste the unhurried generosity of flavors. When listening, let the other's voice complete you. as if your ears were not tunnels, but open fields. Resist the temptation to translate the moment into commentary. Thoughts do not need eviction, they need fresh air. When you notice a thought, notice also the noticing. You'll find the noticing is spacious, patient, open-ended, like a lake that does not reject the clouds mirrored upon it. That lake is what I mean when I say you are real. Relationships become a temple for this practice. Often we treat loved ones as characters in our timeline, actors hired to fulfill our projected expectations. When they deviate from the script, we accuse time. Not yet, not anymore, too late. But if you meet someone as they are in this instant, you set them free from your archive and your prophecy. Listen as if your ears were new. Touch as if your hands were seeing. Speak as if words were falling like rain on dry soil. Attention is affection. The more fully you attend, the more tenderly you love. Work, too, transforms. Productivity is not the haste of a threatened animal. It is the vivid engagement of a creature at home. Begin your tasks by taking one breath with your eyes closed. Name silently the very next step, not the whole project's empire. Do that step with the respect you would give a sacred object. Then ask, what now? In this rhythm, time stops being a knife and becomes a loom. You weave hours into presence rather than slicing presence into hours. When fear arrives, and it will, invite it to tea. Fear feeds on futures it can't control. Serve it the sweetness of now. Place a hand on your chest and feel the drum that has carried you through every weather. The heart does not beat in tomorrow. Fear calms when it is felt, not negotiated. You are not bargaining with the future. You are breathing with what's here. And in that breathing, the nervous system relearns the ancient song, safe, safe, safe enough to open. A practical word on goals. Have them by all means, but wear them like a loose garment. Goals are the way the present whispers to itself about directions to explore. Bow to them in the morning. Let them go by evening. Notice that the satisfaction you seek from achieving is a flavor available now, the feeling of wholeness that does not depend on outcome. Savor it first, and you'll find that action springs from fullness rather than from hunger. Consider the habit of postponement. When things settle down, as if life were a noisy room that will one day become quiet enough for you to begin. Life is the music and the noise, the harmony and the street sellers shouting. Do not wait for the silence. Practice in the marketplace. Ace. Pause between emails. Look up from the screen and meet the gaze of a passing stranger with gentle eyes. Place your palm on a warm cup and let heat teach presence. These are not small acts. They are revolutions against the tyranny of elsewhere. At night, lie down like a leaf floating on a pond. Let the body be carried. Sleep is the most democratic enlightenment. Every creature returns to the source without effort. You do not need to push the river into the ocean. It knows. Trust is not an opinion about the future. It is the willingness to rest in a present you did not create, yet somehow are. In that rest, dreams may arise, and even they are folded into the same quiet light. What happens when this way of seeing matures? The sense of a separate, defended self, the little actor dragging a timeline behind it like a suitcase, begins to relax. You stop narrating yourself so often and start being yourself more fully. The ego is not an enemy. It is a tool that has mistakenly seized the throne. When bathed in awareness, it becomes a marvelous servant, a way to say I, so you can sign letters and order soup. But it no longer demands that the universe explain itself in chapters featuring your victories and your fears. As this relaxation deepens, clarity and peace emerge not as achievements, but as the native climate of being. You realize you don't stand apart from life to evaluate it. You are the living. The wind does not ask permission to move through the bamboo. The bamboo is the dance of the wind. In the same way, your thoughts, feelings, and actions are movements of the whole. This recognition doesn't make you passive. It makes you intimate with everything. Compassion is no longer an obligation. It is the leaking of your boundaries. The human condition remains tender, sickness, aging, disappointment, but it is held within a larger kindness. Meaning is not a trophy you hunt down. It is the sparkle that appears when you and the moment stop arguing. Spiritual freedom is not escape from circumstances. It is the unguarded immediacy with which you meet them. When sorrow comes, you do not ask it for an estimated time of departure. You make a small clearing by the fire and sit together, sharing the same warmth until it changes its shape, as weather always does. Living authentically, then, is not a performance but a permission. You allow yourself to be this breath, this gesture, this laugh that arrives without forewarning, this tear that needs no apology. You belong to existence the way a flame belongs to the candle, shaping and being shaped, fragile and luminous, utterly itself. When you stop trying to be a better future, you become a truer present, and that is more than enough. Let us conclude not with a summary, but with a small meditation, a turning inward that is also a turning outward, since in the deepest sense inward and outward are two sides of the same mirror. Sit as you are. Let the spine find its quiet dignity as a tree finds its sky. Feel the breath enter, no need to guide it. Notice the gentle swell, the gentle release. Somewhere a sound appears, distant traffic, a bird, the whisper of your own life continuing. Let it be as it is. Thoughts arrive like letters in the post. You needn't open them all. The important message has already been delivered. You are here. Ask, not with words, but with listening. Where is the boundary of this moment? Does it have an edge? Follow the sensation of your hands from skin to warmth to space. Does the space stop where the hand begins, or do they blend like colors in twilight? Let attention rest in the heart's area. Imagine it widening, not to seize, but to include. The room sits within your awareness as comfortably as your breath. Time becomes soft, like a fabric that drapes rather than binds. Now, without reaching, allow a simple knowing to bloom. I am not the traveler moving through hours. I am the presence in which hours move. Feel this. A relief of that. Nothing to chase, nothing to hold. The past bows and dissolves. The future waves and waits its turn to become this. Here the ordinary world reveals its extraordinary face. A cup on the table, the pattern of light on the floor, the rhythm of your own chest. Each is sacred because each is seamless with the whole. If a question remains, let it be this living question that needs no answer. Can I meet the next appearance with the same friendliness I offer to this breath? Do not solve it. Keep it as one keeps a candle lit in a dark room, not to banish the dark, but to show how spacious it is. When the mind tries to seize the moment, smile and let the moment hold you instead. When you rise, carry no doctrine, only the taste of presence on your tongue. Walk as if the earth were delighted to feel you. Speak as if words were fresh fruit and you offered them with care. Work as if the day were not counting against you, but unveiling itself for you. Love as if there were no later, because there isn't. There is only the infinite intimacy of now, finding 1,000 forms to say, you are real, and because you are real, the world blooms real around you. Stand up. Take one breath that has no yesterday and no tomorrow. Feel how it welcomes you without proof or promise. In that welcome is the whole teaching. Time is an exquisite story the mind tells to keep order. You are the living order in which stories arise. Trust that. Move gently. And let the day come to you as it always has, as it always will, this very moment, forever arriving.